Hello and a warm welcome to TBC News. Our top stories. It is campaign all over the country. Israel and Hamas sign ceasefire. Good evening, I am Faida Ngaga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online. Also, get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM, promises residents of Simiyu and Mara regions that it will improve health services, agriculture and fishery in order to boost economy of those regions. Addressing campaign rallies in Simiyu and Mara regions, CCM presidential candidate Samia Suluhu Hassan says CCM manifesto focuses on strengthening the economy via implementation of development projects.
I had allocated funds for the construction of a market here in Lamadi. However, there was a disagreement among the council leaders and ward representatives over whether it should be built in Lamadi or Nyashimo. As a result, the market was never constructed. But my promise still stands. Once the leaders reach an agreement, the market will be built right here in Lamadi, just as I pledged.
Speaking in Mara region, Samia pledges to finish all projects which she started 5 years ago.
As outlined in our manifesto, we are committed to strengthening the agriculture sector, and Mara region is set to establish agricultural centers. In the fisheries sector, 5 years ago, we introduced 45 fish cages in Bunda district, creating employment opportunities for our youth. We also constructed 5 fish ponds, and I firmly believe that young people are now earning a living and improving their livelihood through these initiatives.
Samia continues with her campaigns in the Lake Zone. AAFP presidential candidate Kunje Ngombale Mwiru says if elected to be president, he will strengthen security along country's borders and fight corruption. Kunje made the remarks in Dar es Salaam while evaluating his campaign meetings held in southern Tanzania.
If you build proper markets, for example, when I visited Southern Zone, I promised to transform their market into a major regional hub for all resources produced in the south. In every zone, I will establish key markets. For instance, in the south, where cashew nuts and pecan peas are widely grown, I promise all Tanzanians that we will have designated areas dedicated to each specific product.
He says he is expecting to continue with campaigns in the Lake Zone regions. Still in the campaign stories, Tanzania Labour Party presidential candidate Eustace Ramugira says if elected, his government will provide a free education from kindergarten to university. Speaking at a campaign meeting in Dodoma region, Ramugira says education provided will be theoretical and practical.
Education must be free for all young people from kindergarten to university. They will also be taught vocational skills such as tomato farming, cultivation of other crops, construction, and civil engineering. Every young person should be given at least 30 acres of land. Right now, many youths are just staying in towns without working. They should be given a land so that they can produce crops that grow well in their areas, whether it is groundnuts, grapes, tomatoes, or sesame.
He says his government will empower youth by giving them friendly environment for agriculture and provide free medical services. Chama cha Mapinduzi running mate Dr. Emmanuel Nchimbi says CCM will continue to maintain peace and harmony in the country for the next 5 years as one of the key factors for the nation's development. Addressing a campaign rally in Coast Region, Dr. Nchimbi emphasizes on the importance of peace for development.
Our president has successfully maintained peace, security, and unity in our country. The CCM manifesto emphasizes that this will remain a top priority in the next 5 years. Therefore, we must continue to strengthen the peace, unity, and solidarity of our nation. President Samia has practically demonstrated her remarkable ability to uphold these values through action.
He says CCM government for the next 5 years will improve various sectors like education, water, agriculture, and fishery. Now, in today's session of Beyond the Ballot, we take a closer look at CCK and Ada Tadea's manifestos.
Chama cha Kijamii CCK, this is a political party that was registered in the year 2012. In the past elections, this party had never nominated a candidate for the presidency of the United Republic of Tanzania. This year, 2025, CCK has nominated David Mwaijojele to contest for the top position in the government, that is presidency. Mwaijojele has been promoting policies and convincing citizens through the party's manifesto.
Journalists, you will have money. I will create projects that you can run, such as farming and keeping livestock, so that you can enjoy your life. You are aging before your time, constantly thinking about how you will survive.
In the past elections, this party had never nominated a candidate for the presidency of the United Republic of Tanzania. This year, Ada Tadea has nominated George Busungu to contest for the presidency. For now, he and his running mate are promoting the party's policies in various areas.
We are fighting against ignorance, diseases, and we are fighting against poverty. But we cannot fight against poverty without removing favoritism, corruption, and embezzlement.
Manifestos of CCK, together with that of Ada Tadea, both have focused on raising the economic status of Tanzanians through various means, including agriculture.
As the general elections are on the way, a long-running research initiative is taking a closer look at how the media reports election-related news in Tanzania. The Yearbook on Media Quality in Tanzania research project, which started in 2017 by the School of Journalism and Mass Communication in collaboration with several stakeholders, is once again assessing the quality of media coverage during this critical period. According to the project's coordinator, this year's study focuses on evaluating how balanced, accurate, and inclusive the media is in reporting issues surrounding the elections.
We want to assess how the media reporting the general election of 2025. And we will be assessing the radio stations, TV stations, newspapers, and social media.
The initiative trains and engages coders who monitor news stories from different media outlets across the country, analyzing content to determine the level of fairness, professionalism, and ethical standards in reporting.
One among the crucial project that is helping media houses to see how they report different issues. And for the project that is coming on the general election of 2025, I think it's one among the things that most people are looking, if the media are covering everything that people are expecting to see.
This project is very important to the media stakeholders, especially journalists, since it is going to influence them on doing media coverage in transparent manner and adhering the journalistic standard as the profession wants.
The 4-day training has equipped participants with analytical tools to ensure the final report provides credible insights on the state of journalism in Tanzania. Since its establishment in 2017, the Yearbook on Media Quality in Tanzania project has remained an important platform for promoting accuracy, accountability, and professionalism in the Tanzanian media landscape. Now, the United States Department of State has announced that Tanzania will join the Visa Bond pilot program. A press release issued by the U.S. Embassy in the country says starting October 23rd, visa applicants who are otherwise found eligible for a business or tourist visa for travel to the United States will be required to post a bond before the visa can be issued. We're joined live by an analyst who is in the U.S., Professor Peter Muhando, via Zoom. Professor, welcome to TBC News.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for having me.
So, Professor, the United States has introduced new visa bond conditions for Tanzanian applicants. Why has this decision been made now, and what exactly does it signify for Tanzania?
Okay, thank you so very much. This is a good question. As you indicated earlier, this is a pilot program. And the pilot program was based off of a report, Exit and Entry Overstay Report of 2024. Now, in this report, countries were being ranked or evaluated on how long their citizens were given a visa to visit the United States, not as a non-immigrant visa, overstayed the visa. In other words, either they did not get out in time or they changed their status whilst in the United States.
So how could this impact the diplomatic relations between Tanzania and the United States, if at all there's going to be any impact?
Yeah, there's going to be a massive impact. I mean, $5,000 is not chump change. It is substantial. But the way I look at it is, I went ahead and looked at the trade balance, U.S.-Tanzania trade balance. And when it comes to trade in goods, the U.S. maintains a huge trade surplus. Okay, when it comes to services, Tanzania has an advantage because of tourism. So I look at it as an opportunity for Tanzania to see what else they could do. In other words, this is diplomatically negotiable. Why am I saying that? When I was looking at the overstay rates among the countries that are in the pilot program, Tanzania is second from bottom at around 8%. You have the likes of Malawi at 22%, the likes of Gambia 12%, Sao Tome 16%, and the others are all above Tanzania. So that was not really a criteria because our neighbors, Tanzanians, there were only 6,000 Tanzanians who got visas last year to visit the United States, non-immigrant visas. There were 20,000 Kenyans who got visas, and their overstay rate is 9%, higher than Tanzania's overstay rate. But the Kenyans are not included in the pilot program. So I believe there is room for negotiation, and I believe our diplomats can do that. And I'm encouraged by the statement that was given by the government that negotiations are still going on.
Now, what could be, somebody will ask themselves, you've mentioned other countries which have a much higher rate of overstaying. So, like, someone may ask themselves, what could possibly be the reason for Tanzania to be in this list?
I think given the Trump era, everything is negotiable. And that's why I look at it as an opportunity for Tanzania to actually step up and negotiate diplomatically or from the business angle. That's why I mentioned the fact that there is an opportunity to catch up to the United States and negotiate a much better balanced trade deal, so to speak, as a starting point. And as you know, President Trump or the Trump administration is all about trade and not aid. So there is room to negotiate through the trade angle.
Thank you very much, Professor Muhando.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
In other news, Tanzania Investment and Special Economic Zones Authority, TISEZA, has welcomed entrepreneurs from Japan to use investment opportunities available through special economic zones in the country. Director of Investment Services from TISEZA, James Maziku, says the government has earmarked special economic zones in Bagamoyo, Nala, Dodoma, and Kwala Coast region.
We have explained that we have areas in Bagamoyo designated as an economic special zone, an area that will soon be developed into an economic hub, including a modern port. There is also another area with a dry port covering more than 1,500 hectares, which also hosted the headquarters of a hospital. Altogether, these areas offer various opportunities in the investment sector. However, the main agenda today is to explore how we can move beyond merely promoting opportunities and instead transform these opportunities into actual investment projects.
On the other hand, the chairman of Japan Business Community, Ryutaro Miyamoto, says Japanese delegation has come to Tanzania to find economic opportunities.
The visit is to let the Japanese business society to know about the current Tanzanian industry. And since 2 years has passed since I live here, but this is the first time to visit SEZ itself. And I'm impressed that this kind of modern SEZ is here in Tanzania.
Well, at this very moment, we don't necessarily have very specific area that we decided to choose to invest, but we are trying our level best to learn more about overall business climate here in Tanzania.
Yes, we JICA is also supporting Japanese companies which are interested into penetrating this market. And one of the important things is to disseminate the current information, especially regarding the trade and foreign direct investment. And unfortunately, some of them do not know how to access to these information. So today, we also got some information, and our expert is just being dispatched to this TISEZA since last week.
In other news, Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas have signed an agreement to cease fire and free Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in the first phase of President Donald Trump's initiative to end the 2-year war in Gaza that has caused turmoil in the Middle East. Israelis and Palestinians alike rejoiced after the deal was announced, the biggest step yet to end 2 years of war in which over 67,000 Palestinians have been killed. Now, to discuss further on this milestone, we are joined in the studio by Novatus Igosha, who is a political analyst. Igosha, welcome to TBC News.
Thank you very much, Faiza.
So, first of all, what are the key terms of this ceasefire between Hamas and Israel?
Before I discuss immediately the key terms between Hamas and Israel, I'd like to say where it came from. This is the first phase of the agreement, which was announced immediately this week following a 20-point peace framework brokered by the United States, but also mediated by Egypt, the state of Qatar, and of course the Turkey, or Istanbul, if I have to use that diplomatic term to describe a state party. Part of the package is that there should be cessation of hostilities from both parts, and of course exchange of prisoners and the hostages, and demilitarization of the Gaza area. Now, the key elements of this peace deal includes an immediate logistical repositioning of Israeli troops, because the conflict has been the annus horribilis for the past 2 years in the international stage. And by annus horribilis is a Latin term in diplomacy, which means the most catastrophic humanitarian crisis. If you remember, by 7th October 2023, Hamas had attacked Israel by launching the so-called Al-Aqsa flood, Operation Al-Aqsa flood, and about 1,200 Israelis were killed and 240 taken hostages. The Israeli government, in retribution, had also launched the so-called Operation Swords of Iron. Now, over the past 67 plus years, this has been the most catastrophic geopolitical crisis in human history. You can see we don't even agree on the name of the area. The Israelis call it Erez Israel, the Palestinians call it Palestine. Now, this peace accord which is coming in terms of cessation is just what I consider a token of hope in the international community.
What could be the contributing factors for this ceasefire deal?
The contributing factors, first and foremost, are the state actors, particularly the major Israeli ally, the United States government, which has come with a 20-point framework, and of course, other regional players like Qatar, Egypt, and of course, Istanbul or Turkey. But the logistical military overstretch on both sides of the conflict. The Israeli military has been in Gaza for about 2+ years without achieving its end. People are dying, children are dying, but still they haven't gotten back all the hostages. On the other hand, Hamas is losing legitimacy on the Arab regional people, including Islamic people and of course peace-loving people across the world, and of course diplomatic initiatives that are done by the United Nations. If you remember, even during the beginning of the conflict back in October 2023, UN Secretary General Guterres said for about 56 years there has been a strong occupation of Palestinian land, and the Palestinians have been occupied in terms of imperial settlements. And therefore, this crisis is coming to find a solution because it's stretching so many diplomatic efforts and, of course, so much logistical and economic efforts on both sides of the aisle. But another matter is that President Trump, American government leader, wants to leave a legacy to be a peace person after he leaves office. And if you can remember his recent rhetoric, he has also even quoted the so-called Logia of Christ, or what Christians refer as the Beatitudes, in the Sermon of the Mount, when they say, blessed are the peacemakers because they'll be called sons of God. I think Trump wants to achieve something in the Middle East, but how would that be far possible? It really depends on how he balances both sides of the aisle, because people want to have a recognition of Israel, yes, but also the recognition of the rights of Palestinians and the rights of the people of Palestine to have their own sovereign land following the Camp David Accords and above all, prior 1967 Yom Kippur War.
Do you think this will address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza? Possibly the start of the addressing of that issue?
If I have to be sincere, I think it really depends on how Benjamin Netanyahu is going to take it, because he is being overstretched at home, but he's somebody with very strong far-right beliefs. Now, if it's going to address the humanitarian crisis, depends on how he can go on and say, as far as our terms are concerned, I'm going to adhere to those terms. I'm going to comply to those diplomatic initiatives by the U.S. government, by other regional players, including Qatar, Turkey, and other international players. If it's going to adhere to that, I do believe that there could be a possibility of peace.
Thank you very much, Ikosha, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
In other news, every year on the second Thursday of October, the world observes World Sight Day to spotlight the importance of eye care and prevent avoidable vision loss. Hear more details with Kanki Maigumole.
This is a global event meant to draw attention to blindness and vision impairment. Sight matters because it impacts a person's ability to communicate and interact with the world around them. As the world commemorates World Sight Day, today we are joined by Dr. Cyprian Tomuka, an eye specialist from CCBRT, who is going to give us a few insights with regards to this day.
Have different diseases that are affecting Tanzanians currently. In the past, we used to have trachoma, In those days when everyone was busy really, saving life, we had services treating different infections, diarrhea, and all other diseases that could end up with death. But these days, the government has invested a lot in making sure that we really come up to take care of our eyes.
Some of the common eye diseases in Tanzania include age-related macular degeneration, cataract, diabetic retinopathy, and glaucoma. Highlighting the glaucoma disease, also commonly known as eye pressure, Dr. Cyprian Tomoka says glaucoma is a chronic progressive eye disease caused by damage to the optic nerve, which leads to visual field loss, of which he says there are usually no early warning symptoms of glaucoma. Over time, one may slowly lose vision. It happens slowly. You may not notice your vision is changing at first, but as glaucoma progresses, you may experience blurry vision or vision loss.
How do we get glaucoma? Many people, they call it eye pressure because one of the symptoms of glaucoma is high eye pressure, because everyone has got eye pressure. Eye pressure usually commonly in a normal person or normal people, 80% of the population, the eye pressure is supposed to read between 10 and 21. So if you have your eye pressure more than 21, that's one of the signs for glaucoma. But that's not glaucoma by itself. Glaucoma is when you have already damage on the optic nerve. How unfortunately and very unfortunate, there is no direct symptom that one can use to recognize that now I'm having eye pressure. Apart from the fact that it is genetic, it can be inherited from one person to another in a family, but you will never know that you have that disease unless you go for eye check. And that's the reason why, as we commemorate World Sight Day, we encourage people from the age of 40 specifically to make sure that every year you check your eyes.
Furthermore, he emphasized on regular eye exams, which he says are an important part of finding eye diseases early to protect your vision. Escorted by the theme, Love Your Sight, Every Story Counts. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, I'm Kanki Mwagomole, TBC.
Thank you very much, Kanki Mwagomole. And on that note, we are ending our news bulletin for tonight. Don't miss our next bulletin in Kiswahili at 11 p.m. On behalf of the whole team, I am Faith Ngaga. Good night.